What's good? What's good, everyone? Welcome back to the show, man. Recap with Mo, where we getting ready to get into another episode breakdown of BounceTV's own Johnson series, all right? But before we get into this thing, make sure to like and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss shit that's going down right here, all right? So the episode we getting ready to get into for tonight is Season 3, Episode number 7, titled Middleman. Now, the synopsis for this episode states that Jarvis surprises the fellas with a token of appreciation for their friendship. Love is in the air as Booker and Sherrie go on a date while Keith takes his disapproval of their relationship too far. Now that we got that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into this thing. All right, so we start this episode off with Keith coming into the restaurant to meet up with Jarvis, who's already there. Jarvis wants to meet up with all the fellas to express his appreciation to his brothers or whatnot. So, of course, Keith has to let him know that, hey, I'm always the first one here. And Jarvis was like, well, I was thinking that it was going to be Greg. Now, Jarvis... I don't know what he's thinking because Greg is never on time for any damn thing. So I'm just shocked that that's honestly what he believed. But anyhow, so of course Greg shows up. Omar shows up. Everybody's there. And of course Greg was the last one to show up. And they actually made a bet on who was going to show up first. And Keith was the one that won the bet. So anyhow, going on from there, Jarvis just pretty much talks to the fellas. And it's almost like, hey, where are you going? Like, where are you going with this conversation? Because it seems as though Jarvis is getting ready to, pass away or whatnot. And Omar's like, so what's going on? Like, you scaring me right now. And he was like, no, man, I just want to talk to y'all. I just want to share the blessings that I've received with my brothers, with the guys that I've grown to love and cherish. And he was like, as a matter of fact, I'm going to give each and every one of y'all $50,000. But he starts off this conversation just simply asking about their immediate goals. Like, what do you want to accomplish right now? So Greg kicks it off and he pretty much conveys to the fellas that, hey, I honestly feel like I found the one thing that I actually want to do in life. So if you've been keeping up with this series, man, Greg has been the one friend in this whole circle who has not been able to hold a job down. He just quits jobs if he doesn't see them working the way that he believes they should, or something isn't right about it, and he lets it go and he'll go on to do something else. And ultimately, it's caused him, to be stagnant. He hasn't grown much. I mean, in a professional sense or whatnot. But outside of that, the rest of the fellas have progressed. They have moved on. And then we actually find out that he's the one guy in this group who never went to college. So not to say that you honestly have to go to college to be successful, but that is our society. That's the world that we live in. Now, there are some individuals who get paid a lot of money who've never touched the campus of a university, who have never taken any classes or whatnot, and they just made it. But that's not everybody, and honestly, that's not Greg. So he knows now that he's going to have to actually make some type of earnest effort to achieve this dream. So he knows if he wants to go into being a chef or becoming a chef, that he's going to have to go to school for this, and he knows that it's going to cost him around $50,000. So once he conveys that to Jarvis, Jarvis is like, cool, go ahead and enroll. I'm gonna go ahead and take care of that for you. And he was like, for what? Like, for real? And I was like, damn, like, I need a friend like that too. Like, go ahead and drop me off 50 bands real quick, because I can definitely do some things with 50 bands right now. And I'm not talking about buying no cars or nothing like that. But anyhow, he passes out the checks. Everybody is, like wowed out right now, because they were like, for real, bro? Like, this is probably like the nicest thing that anyone has ever done for them on this level, where he's like, hey, I'm giving this to y'all because I love y'all. I want y'all to achieve your goals. And then, of course, his fellas who have known him pretty much all his life are like, no, there's a catch to this. And he was like, oh, by the way, he's also going through a divorce. So he doesn't want that to show up on the... he doesn't want that to show up on the report. So I see what he's trying to do, but he's also trying to support his fellas as well. And he already had his mind made up before, this whole situation was, finalized or whatnot. So anyhow, going on from there, we see Keith at this record store picking up a record, and he sees Arthur, who is the owner of this record shop. And he comes up, and Arthur is happy to see him because he frequents this spot quite often. And he conveys to him that, hey, man, go ahead and pick out another record. It's on the house because you've been, so supportive of my business or whatnot. So Keith is like, for real? He was like, yeah, go ahead and do that. Now, for me, I'm like, Keith is looking at this like this has to be the best damn day ever. Earlier this morning, I got $50,000. Now, a place that I love is now giving me a free record of my choice, and it's on the house. But Arthur conveys to him that, hey, man, we getting ready to close up shop because there's no way that we're going to be able to continue to have business at this location due to gentrification. Now, Keith is already feeling some type of way about this because he knows now who primarily is responsible for this whole change in this community. So I'm interested how he's going to deal with this. But Arthur pretty much tells him that he's going to sell his records, when he closed the shop, on a virtual space that he doesn't even know how to pronounce the name. And this man is up here saying, oh, the E. And Keith himself has to correct him and let him know that it's eBay. Now, for me, I'm like, how in the hell you going to run a business online when you don't even know how to use online yourself? So I don't know how successful he's going to be, and I'm talking specifically about Arthur, but what was going in my mind was the fact that Keith just received $50,000. Maybe he can go in as a 50-50 partner with Arthur and possibly, move the business or keep the business in-house and then make it more digital friendly or something like that. I'm not sure. I just think that's something that could possibly be done. Who knows? But anyhow, going on from there, we see Booker and Keith's mom, Miss Sherrie, all right? So they've been enjoying each other's company, and they out at this lounge and they drinking it up and getting to know each other a little bit better. And, they feeling each other. And Miss Sherrie is throwing it at them like, okay, like we can drink a little bit here and then we can go back to the house, for a little nightcap. And Booker's like, okay, all right. So anyhow, and the lounge that they're at is actually Jean's, who is D.L. Hughley's character, is actually his lounge. So when they're sitting in there, they're enjoying themselves, they're getting drinks, and it's just a laid back affair. But I'm glad to see Miss Sherrie out and about. I know Keith doesn't feel great about her dating, and I mean specifically about her dating Booker, because he feels like he's not the best option for her. And for a grown son, I can see where he feels some type of way. Definitely after Booker pulled the stunt that he pulled previously in the previous episode, where he told Keith, hey, the next time you decide to come over here, you might want to call first because I might be bucking naked over here the next time you come up, because I'd like to let that thing swing, all right? And, I felt like that was a little disrespectful. We know what grown folks do, but when you're trying to get to know somebody's son and you are new to this context, you have to be in some type of way respectful to their grown son or their grown child. And I just feel like Booker was a little bit disrespectful when it came to that. Like, truth be told, we know y'all gonna be doing some stuff. She's grown, you're grown. We know how it goes. But at the same time, you putting it in his face was very disrespectful. And the way you were looking at his mom like, you know what I'm saying? I'm about to be in that later. Yeah, that was a little disrespectful, Booker, but, any man will feel like that. But anyhow, moving on from there, Omar is on the porch, on the front porch, talking to his son Caleb about life and refocusing on school, because all Caleb is concerned about right now is sports. And I think there comes a time in every young boy's life, and I'm not going to say all boys, but specifically, a lot of us, when we're involved in sports or whatnot, like everybody thinks we're going to the league, and that's just not true. Like, every damn body ain't going to the league. Everybody ain't going to the NFL. Everybody ain't going to the NBA. We just have to be, real about the situation. So Omar is like, hey man, we just need you to refocus. We need you to focus on your grades, and we need you to focus on going to college. Now, Caleb is like, man, look, I don't think I'm built for college. And that's very true. Everybody is not built to go to a 4-year university. Sometimes some people can just go to a junior college and just get the feel for it for 2 years, graduate, have an associate's. Some people can go to trade school, which I think a lot of our brothers need to go to trade schools, because a lot of those jobs pay a lot of money. But instead of me just not going to school somewhere, not getting a trade, I think it's beneficial. And I love how this series specifically is putting it out there. Like, just don't hang your hat on saying, okay, I graduated from high school and I can do better. Like, I can go to a trade school, I can go to a junior college. If that's not for me and I really want to do more, I can go to a 4-year university, go get my master's or whatnot. But the options are out there for you to grow and progress. Just don't sit up here and say there's nothing for me to do. And that's all Omar is telling Caleb at this point. Like, it's cool that you want to play sports, but at the same time, we need you to open your eyes to other options. And that's what your mother and I want. Caleb is like, hey man, y'all don't even talk or whatnot. And he's like, look, we do talk. We talk specifically about you, but that's pretty much it. Now, as they're talking, Caleb conveys to him that, he's not too fond of his mom's new friend. Now, Omar is not too keen on it either, but at the same time, he knows the situation. He knows that, they're going through this nasty divorce, and it's not final yet, but she's trying to move on with her life. Or is she? That's my thing. Is she really trying to move on with her life, or is she trying to put something in place of Omar just to get over Omar? Because, sometimes they say, the best way to get over somebody is get with somebody new. And maybe that's what she's trying to do. Now, Caleb isn't feeling it. And also with that, Caleb tells Omar that old boy has actually picked him up from school. Omar was like, hold on, what the hell are you talking about? Like, that right there is bothersome to me, because obviously, Naomi has not told Omar that she got her friend, her buddy picking up their son. And if anything, you need to communicate with the father to let him know, or at least give him the option to be able to pick up his son instead of sending your boo over there to pick up our son. Because now Omar feels some type of way, but Caleb does not want him to tell his mom anything. So, of course, I know already that's going to eat Omar up, because he really wants to bring it to her attention. Because once again, ladies and gentlemen, communication is key. Definitely when you're going through situations in which Omar and Naomi are going into. They're going through this divorce period, this separation period, and communication has to be so very important at this point. Because if not, it's sort of like we're going to get into the law office or the attorney's room, and we're just going to be going at each other's throats over something we did not communicate about. You see what I'm saying? So it's just so crazy, man. But anyhow, moving on from there. Next, we see Brother Greg sitting at the house watching YouTube, cooking it up in the kitchen, when he receives a phone call from Jarvis. Now, as we all know, that Greg has, been approached by Sister Wanda, who is looking for him to give her a sample of his sperm so he could, drop off his seed and they can mix it up with her egg and they can create something awesome, right? And, at one time they had this little situation going on and it just didn't work out. They were on two different playing fields, as she stated previously, and they just did not see eye to eye. Physically, everything was great. But, on the other end of it, financially and all of that stuff, it wasn't working out. They were on two different sides of the spectrum. But anyhow, she did approach him previously about, hey, I want you to donate your sperm, so I can have a child, because I went through that whole process to freeze my eggs and whatnot. So anyhow, he thought about it for a little while, and obviously he's going through with it. So he's been watching these videos on how to be a good father, because what he's thinking is this is going to be an opportunity for him to build a bond with the child that they create. Now, I'm not for sure if that's what Wanda wants from him. I'm not sure if she just wants the sperm and that's all, or does she want a relationship or the child that they create to have a relationship with him. Now, that's a very sticky situation, because I was just thinking, like, if a woman was to approach me about that, like, yeah, I want your seed, but I don't want you, and I don't want you to be involved in the child's life. I'm like, damn, like, I feel some type of way about that, because there's no way in the world that I can sit here and know that I got a child down the street, down the block in the same city, and I don't have a relationship with them. Hell to the no. Like, I just could not do that. I could not fathom that at all. And I'm going to be honest with y'all. Can I be honest with y'all? First and foremost, I just don't understand how brothers go out here, get with a woman, sleep with her, have a child with her, and then have no relationship with the child. Now, there are some good brothers out here that actually want to have relationships with their child or their children, and the woman doesn't allow them to do that. And I think that's effed up as well, because ultimately it affects the child. So anyhow, I'm going to move off of that. Maybe I'll make a video about that later, because this series brings out a lot of discussions, man. And this is the main reason why I created this platform, so we can have this dialogue, talk about it. And I wish that y'all would get in the chat about it and just talk about it, man, because those are great things to talk about. The next thing we see is, going back to Jarvis real quick. So Jarvis calls Greg to see if he want to go hang out at the bar. Well, Greg is like, no, I got this little situation that's going down tomorrow, and I need to make sure I'm up for that, right? And Jarvis was like, oh, so you really thinking about doing it for real? He was like, yeah. And, he's been asking questions to Omar, how did it feel to be a father? And I'm just hoping that he's not getting his hopes up about this whole thing, when quite possibly that may not even be an option for him. So maybe we'll find that out in the next episode. Going on from there, though, we head over to the radio station where we see Queen and Gene. Now, they're having this whole discussion about, men, how men and society looks with men and their finances. And it's a great conversation, because he's asking her, would she date a man who makes less money? And she was like, well, how much money are we talking about? Well, he was like, well, $25,000. She was like, ooh, and he was like, hell to the no, you're not going to do that. Now, there are some sisters out here who make pretty good money, and they make more than their spouses or their partners, and it works. Now, you also got it flipped the other way, where the man makes the most money and the woman makes the least in the household, and it works. So all I'm going to say in this situation is, as long as you guys have proper communication, you guys know how you're going to work as a partnership in that household, then do what you do. I can't tell no damn body what to do in their own damn house, how to live, how to function. Now, I can tell you how I do it in my crib, but that may not necessarily work for you, all right? But I do think in our society and our culture specifically, every woman is looking for the bad, but she ain't bringing nothing to the table always. Now, that's a whole different discussion for a whole different day, all right? So anyhow, going on from there, the next thing we see is Miss Sherrie and Booker headed home or whatnot, and she's thanking him for taking her out for the evening. And he was like, it's no problem. As a matter of fact, I'm going to call the credit card company about those drinks and everything that we had tonight, and I'm going to dispute those charges like I wasn't there. Now, me, honestly, I'm questioning Booker's character at this moment, because you can do it and not say it out loud in front of your date. Like, it sounds to me that his character is, one that's trying to always cut corners. And for him to outright lie about being at the lounge, and his excuse is, shit, he owes me money, so I'm just going to do it, and my friend is loaded, he's all right, he got 2 jobs, he'll be all right. No, bro, you went there, you took a woman on a date, you bought those, those bottles of wine or whatever y'all did, pay your tab, honest way of living, and deal with it. But for you to outright tell your girl, your woman, that, no, I'm going to go ahead and dispute these charges, I would be questioning this man that I'm considering bringing home right now. Like, what type of man is he, when actually his integrity should be questioned right now? Because anybody that is pulling this type of buffoonery in front of their date, like, I wonder what else this is hiding, right? But anyhow, going on from there, while they're in the midst of conversating, they are actually listening to Queen and Jean's conversation, and they just so happen to hear Keith on the telephone, who is calling in, and he's talking specifically about Booker and how he feels that he ain't a good fit for his mom. And his mom is hearing it, and she's furious, and she was like, he's gone too far. But I'm going to just say this. I honestly believe that Miss Sherrie needs to listen to her son Keith, because maybe Keith is on to something, because he's seen a side of Booker that she has yet to see. Now, he's been throwing out the red flags all night. Anybody that's telling you straightforward what he's getting ready to do by committing fraud and all of these things willfully, and then going to put you in it and tell you that you're going to be a witness, you should question him right now, Miss Sherrie. So anyhow, I'm going to leave it on this note right here. Please like and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss shit and it that's going down right here, all right? What do I have next? Oh, I got Tyler Perry's Zactima, the most recent episodes coming up right after this. So I will talk to you guys soon, and make sure to get into the conversation down below. Talk to y'all soon. Peace.